And this is the January 20th City Commission meeting. It's 7 p.m. and we are in the Commission chambers. Our Finance Director, Kelly McGuire, and Police Captain Chris Ruse were the greeters tonight. I'd like to introduce the folks who are sitting up in front of you. To my right, your left, Wendy Nichols, our Recording Secretary. City Clerk, Lisa Dame. Commissioner Dwight Selby from Zone 1, our Deputy Mayor in Zone 2, Commissioner Troy Kent. To my left and your right, Commissioner Susan Persis from Zone 3, Commissioner Rob Littleton, Zone 4, City Manager Joyce Shanahan, Assistant City Manager Claire Whitley, and where'd Randy go?
He's right there.
Oh, there he is. City Attorney Randy Hayes. And for those of you listening online, I'm Mayor Bill Partington. Tonight, we are lucky to have Pastor Dr. Marcus Buckley with us from Oasis Church. And if you would, please rise for the invocation, followed by the pledge.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for blessing us in so many ways, and one of which is to live in this beautiful place that we call home, Ormond Beach. Father, we thank you for this city. We thank you for the people in it. Lord, we thank you for this leadership team that you've put together in our city government. We thank you for each one of them for working out to put them in the places where they are, to use their gifts and talents and abilities to help make Ormond a better place to live. Lord, I thank you for our emergency services, for our first responders. I thank you for the incredible people who wear a badge and who ride those fire trucks and do all of these things to keep us safe, to make this an even better place to live. We thank you for all of the citizens who live here, who contribute in so many ways, large and small, to make Ormond an incredible, incredible place to call home. Lord, you are the source of all blessings. Your word tells us that. We recognize that, and we thank you for it tonight. Lord, I pray as this meeting takes place tonight, dealing with the business of the city, I pray that you would give wisdom, that you would give guidance, that you would give discernment, that you would give everything that's needed to continue down the path to make Ormond Beach an incredible place to call home. Lord, we thank you for all these things, and we pray it in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. At this time, we have been awarded in the city of Ormond Beach the 2018 Tree City USA Growth Award. Awesome. And it was just January 7th that we received notification that the Arbor Day Foundation approved and granted us the Tree City USA Growth Award designation. And this award recognizes higher levels of tree care within designated Tree City USA cities, which Ormond Beach has been proudly recognized as a Tree City USA for almost 3 decades, just about 28 years to be precise. The Tree City USA certification requires communities to achieve 4 standards: a tree board or department, and our Quality of Life Board is our tree board, a community tree ordinance, which our land and development ordinances meet their standards, a community forestry program with an annual budget of at least $2 per capita. Our total community forestry expenditure for 2018 was $576,525 for 40,000 residents. So we far exceeded that community forestry program standard. And then an Arbor Day observance and proclamation, which we do every year and have done every year for as long as I can remember. Commissioner Persis was able to join me at Ormond Beach Elementary just last week with some really wonderful students, and staff had everything set up so nicely. A tree that was donated by Yellowstone, and the children, I think, really enjoyed it, and the adults that were there were impressed with what the city had done. So that was that was wonderful. In early 2018, our leisure services staff was tasked with reviewing the Growth Award criteria and forming a committee comprised of the various city department representatives who have expertise and/or areas of responsibility to assist in obtaining the award. Those departments include leisure services, public works, planning, neighborhood improvement, the police department, human resources, and grants. The selected criteria projects that were completed to earn the award include publication of tree brochures, literature distribution using digital, social, and physical distribution methods, local awards with commercial, residential beautification awards through the Chamber of Commerce being part of that, and then externally funded beautification projects, including the replanting of the 95 US 1 interchange. So while working through the 2018 Growth Award process, we found that the City of Ormond Beach had received the Growth Award back in 1993, and this information made this year's award our second, and we're very proud of that, and proud of staff's hard work to make it happen. So the award comes with a flag that designates us as a Growth Award city, and at this time, if Commissioner Selby and Commissioner Littleton will hold it up in front of the rest of us, we'll get a picture. Maybe push the chairs back and we'll scoot in.
Okay.
Great. That's awesome.
Should we say Tree City? Again?
Thank you, Robert. That's right. Anything you want to add, Robert?
Good deal.
Mr. Mayor, we'll be displaying that at the Environmental Discovery Center.
Fantastic, Joyce. Thank you, and thank you for staff's hard work on that. We will now move to audience remarks, and tonight we start with Dimitri Bartzakis. Forgive me, Dimitri, on that last name. How are you, sir? Good to see you.
My name is Dimitri Bartzakis. I own Dimitri's Bar Deck and Grill on A1A. I've been owning the property there for quite a while and been in business there for about 20 years. And I want to thank you for letting me build my upstairs deck up there. It's really remarkable. I love it. Thank you very much, and everybody enjoys it up there as well. And the park across the street is also outstanding. Thank you very much for that. Now, I'm here for a different reason today, and the reason is that a lot of the restaurant row that we are in up there is feeling a little bit neglected, so we kind of got together to maybe come together with the board here and figure out what we can do to increase business. I know we had 3 years of hurricanes, or 2 years of hurricanes, and then the rains all winter long last year really didn't, or summer long, did not help us out tremendously as the restaurant row, and I know a lot of the hotels are still down. They're still coming back up. But I know that the city's planning on some beautifications in the area up there as well, so that's awesome, and I love it. I've seen part of the road, the intermediums that you guys are putting up there. I don't think that's a great idea because it's going to not allow a lot of cars to turn into our lots or come back out. It won't make it easier. I know there's a crosswalk where I'm at on Millsap that needs to be one there. Somebody died last year was it, and then somebody just got hit again a month ago. So I know that's the county, it's not the city, but maybe if you guys can push the county to do something, that would be remarkable as well. But on the beautification tip, I'm thinking more or less, Lena's here too, she's going to talk in a little bit. She's from Tipsy Taco. And we're thinking maybe on the light poles like you do up in Granada over the bridge, to put like you had wreaths for Christmas or what have you, or maybe some banner saying "Welcome to Restaurant Row" or something that could be addressed to beautify the area where people want to come and hang out or maybe do something to have certain events at the park. I don't know if that is allowed or not, maybe like a kite festival. I mean, we are on the beach. People should be coming to the beach to hang out. And since we have a park there, we should utilize it. And I know you don't have a lot of parking there, but you are building another parking facility, I think north of where I'm at. I don't know the street, but I know you're doing that as well to help out. So if we're going to have plenty of parking, that means that we should be able to do more festivals and so on in that area. Other than that, I think I'm good. That's it.
Perfect. Thank you, Dimitri.
Thank you very much, and you guys have a wonderful day.
You as well. Next is Lena Lux.
Hi.
How are you?
My name is Lena Lux. I'm with the new restaurant Tipsy Taco. I'm the general manager there. We are located on Beachside near Dimitri's and Riptides and Charlie Horse. I've recently gotten together with the other restaurant owners in my neighborhood, and I want to get together to, I'm going to stick to the script here. I'm here to introduce you to the new committee Restaurant Row in Ormond on Beachside. The members of this committee are Tipsy Taco, Beach Bucket, Dimitri's, Peppers, Riptides, Charlie Horse, and the teacher shop next door to us. And I'm also in the process of getting together with the other hotels, such as Mackay and the Daytona Beach Resort and possibly Grand Seas. The purpose of us getting together is to build up our area using Andy Romano Park. Maybe we've had 2 meetings so far, all of us business owners, and we've had all kinds of ideas from large to small, but we want to start small with things possibly like utilizing the Andy Romano Park for festivals, like maybe First Friday in the Park festivals, shrimp festivals, possibly hosting events such as surf and jet ski competitions, maybe a 5K, possibly bringing events for when we have event weeks like Bike Week and Race Week and whatnot. Maybe shutting down the street and having vendors and bands, or maybe just using Andy Romano Park, anything like that. We just kind of want to get together and build up our neighborhood. Also things like he was saying, beautification, you know, putting flags up on the street lights, or maybe some landscaping, you know, just things to dress up our part of town a little bit, kind of the way the grind is on that part of town. Like, we kind of want to make a name for ourselves, brand ourselves, advertise together as Restaurant Row. So I just am here to introduce Restaurant Row Beachside to you.
Great.
And we'll be going forward in the future.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor, if I might,
Absolutely.
we will be meeting with them. Staff is going to be meeting with them, I think, next week sometime. Next week sometime. So we'll try to work with them and help them be as successful as they can.
Perfect. Thank you. Russell Bennett.
Thank you allowing me to talk. First thing I want to do is compliment all the commissioners and actually the city of Ormond Beach on the great presentation seminars you put on the last 8 months or 7 months or so. I went to almost every one of them, and they were very good. I'd like to talk about 2 different things. One of them is solid waste management, and I missed the workshop. I didn't realize it was a workshop on this, but it's something that I've talked about maybe at various other meetings, maybe 4 times or so, recommending that there's only 1 pickup of solid waste each week rather than 2. People might need to have an extra can, but wherever I've lived and other places I've known, you only have 1 can of trash, and sometimes I don't even put out any trash on most of the time on the second day. because there's nothing really to throw out. And so anyway, I want to mention that. The other thing is I do want to encourage you to continue the recycling program that we have through, I guess, waste management too, doing recycling. There's a little bit of information in the paper about maybe, curtailing that, and I want to make sure that Ormond Beach doesn't. So, thank you.
Thank you. Suzanne Scheiber.
Good evening.
Good
I
evening.
came from the Recycle Workshop myself as well. In staying with Commissioner Selby's idea to educate the public, if 93% of the citizens are participating, that shows a high number of residents are making the effort, as I think that was all agreed upon. So I am recommending that there be a sticker to go on the side of the recycle bins with accepted items and items that are not accepted to educate the public. You could place them right on the side of the recycle bins. They may be good for 1 year until it's renegotiated, but that makes an effort. In addition, I'd like to see the city post the 4 R's everywhere possible. The 4 R's are refuse if only one use, reduce products with plastic, reuse by bringing your own, and then recycle. That's fairly popular. There are in other areas in Florida that's actually being used. It could go in businesses, public parks, city buildings, and anywhere else you can think of to put it. The signs or stickers could be offered to every business in Ormond, taking us to an environmental and sustainable approach. It would be a start at the very least. Let's see here. I'm requesting that the Waste Pro management contract be placed online for the citizens to review for transparency, going along with the transparency theme from last night. And if I can say one more thing. It seems as though you're looking at doing option 2 that was on the agenda packet. If that's the case, then I would ask the city to find the money in the budget to share half of the increase so that the city shows good faith effort to get on board showing Ormond Beach cares environmentally. If New Smyrna can absorb the cost, which was my understanding in the meeting, then Ormond surely can absorb half the cost. It's the city's chance to make a difference and stand out in Volusia County environmentally. And if I may approach to give you the 4 R's that I was referring to, because I'm not sure that that was all caught.
Sure.
Thank you.
You give them to Lisa, she'll make sure we all get them.
Okay, thank you.
That'd be great. Thank you. Jim Schultz.
Jim Schultz, 117 Harvard Drive. Walked out this morning to move my trash barrels around, and I saw a lot of flashing red lights, or green lights, or blue lights, whatever they were, but blue lights. And anyways, I'm right next to the high school, so I'm 2 blocks away from the event that happened this morning at the bus stop, and I rode my bike down and around and all that, and I saw like 30 police officers. I think that's a lot more than Ormond has on duty, so a lot of them were beach rangers and that. But glad to see that was settled with no loss of life. Still a bit confusing as to what actually was the causation of that. Anyways, I just want to mention, that lawsuit on fluoridation is coming up in August. I'm not really going to talk that much about that. I'm hoping that the Toxic Substance Act does its job with the EPA being sued against that. I had talked a lot in the past about vitamin D issues. My main issue had been on premature births, because they were able to, by giving the bigger doses of vitamin D, cut premature birth by half. And that's no small thing. They also cut preeclampsia by about half, gestational diabetes, and then the infections in the mama and the baby. And further studies also showed the cesarean sections were cut substantially too. the health department and Healthy Start never really grabbed onto that and considered it an issue. They were going to wait until the government told them to look at it and consider it an issue. They still haven't. Here's another issue that got rid of my cable TV. I'm watching a lot more videos, reading a lot more stuff. That's scary to me. It should be scary to you, too. Okay. Anyways, vitamin K. I just realized when I was suggesting lots of people take vitamin D for immune function and all that, that was important. I wasn't interested in bone health. I was interested in babies and other things. But for your own health, as far as your arteries go, there's a lot of data on K2 out there instead of the K1, the stuff that's in green plants, the stuff that can remove the plaque from your arteries if you happen to be taking Coumadin and causing all that stuff. And it helps, well, there's a protein layer in your arteries. It helps make it reject taking in, well, cholesterol and the calcium. So, and you can remove it, I believe, with higher level. Look up on the internet. It's interesting. I think it's probably in your best interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. And Joyce, I didn't know if you or the chief could just give it was kind of an unusual incident this morning. Brief synopsis. I guess there was a bomb threat on a bus.
There was a gentleman on a Votran bus that said he had a bomb. He happened to stop the bus right at the Planet Fitness, which is right almost at the high school. A few more inches and they would have been in Daytona Beach. They had to put the community on lockdown. The school was issued a code red alert so that the kids wouldn't leave for lunch at that time. And A1A was shut down in both directions until they could verify that there was no threat. They were able to take the gentleman into custody, and there was no bombs found.
So I'm guessing Daytona responded, Volusia County Sheriff,
Yep.
SWAT team, and bomb squad probably responded, and then the lifeguard, beach patrol. So you're right, Jim. It was a multi-agency response, and there's all kind of protocols that kick in when that allegation is made. But our team did a great job, and I think Keith Walker, with his press releases, at least was keeping the media informed all along. So congratulations to you guys for that, and for it ending safely with nobody harmed, and I guess just one person in custody. So thank you for that. And last, we have Linda Williams, last but not least. There she is.
Linda Williams, 131 Bozarvy. I want to thank you for the OB Life series and wrap up. And I was pretty impressed with all the information you got from the citizens, and that you're going to be putting this into a strategic plan. And I'd like to recommend that you continue to gather information from the citizens, taking it into other neighborhoods, since that one was pretty far out for some people to get to. But just to continue doing those neighborhood meetings and saying, you know, we want to know what's going on with you. The other thing is I attended the workshop, and Mr. Selby, I loved your idea of educating our systems, not just about what is recyclable, but encouraging them to buy products that are recyclable. And there are a lot of stuff going on in that arena, even dealing with corporations. And there are products now being made that are biodegradable. And we could encourage that in our citizenry and in our businesses, maybe by some incentives or something like that. So I think we're going to have to do more than just put it in the bins and take it somewhere. So I think this is actually an opportunity, learning what's happening here. And also, I think even though those were the only options presented, there are probably some other very creative options. For example, we could create a market industry here using glass and other waste. They are making a lot of things out of plastics, beautiful tables. And in one country, some of their lower-income citizens are collecting the plastics and getting paid a minimal amount for it, and then they're using it to make things with. So we could make our own little cycle here, and wouldn't that be exciting? And wouldn't it bring our citizens together and also make us look really good? We could be an example. So I thought while y'all were in the middle there in the fishbowl tonight, wouldn't it be fun to put the citizens who are in the room in the fishbowl and get their ideas and, kind of trade back and forth? Because I think we just have a wealth of creative ideas, and that we might even could bypass, that expensive system that we're using and create a lot of excitement in the community. Do a contest for best ideas from the citizens about how to handle it, give them some kind of prize. That's my ideas for tonight.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda. We will move on to the approval of the minutes. They have been sent to the commission for review, posted to the city's website. These are from the January 8th, 2019 meeting. Any additions, corrections, or deletions? Hearing none, we will deem them approved. Did you have any? Okay. And then we are now on the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull any item off of the consent agenda? Commissioner Selby.
No, but I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I need to pull items G and I. G and I. That's all right.
Commissioner Selby, is that motion to approve absent items G and I?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just need a second.
I second.
Thank you. And Lisa, please call the vote.
Commissioner Selby?
Yes.
Commissioner Kent?
Yes.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton?
Yes.
Mayor Partington?
Yes. That brings us to 7G. Please read the title.
Resolution number 2019-34, a resolution authorizing the execution of a change order number 1 to that contract awarded to McMahon Construction Company regarding the water main replacement mainland project by increasing the contract price by $33,820.75, increasing the contract time by 60 days, and setting forth an effective date. This is resolution number 2019-34, read by title only.
Deputy Mayor Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I was first elected in this chair, I have to tell you that there was hardly a meeting went by where we did not have an additive change order. And I've got to tell you, I spent my first 2 years getting educated and really learning about city government. And then my next term, I started voting no on the change orders. And it was a 4-1 vote many nights. And then all of a sudden, it became a 4-2 vote. And, I'm sorry, a 3-2 vote. A 3-2 vote against my position. And then all of a sudden it became a 3-2 vote for my position. And then we eventually became 4-1 and then 5-0. And this change order is one, Commission, I'm not going to approve tonight. I've read everything that staff has to give us. The engineer underestimated the quantity of work. How does that happen? There was a piping anomaly. What? They're 158 days over their contract, and the city's giving them 60 days, that we're going to just say, okay, the 60 days that you're, because by the way, the 158 days, it's $500 per day penalty, but we're going to say 60 of those are okay, and here's why. 21 for Hurricane Irma, 28 for rain days, 11 for construction delays for unforeseen conditions. Like, what does that mean? So I'm going to be tight with the city's money on this issue tonight with $33,820.75. I can't in good faith vote for this. I understand everything in here. I understand why staff has presented this to us, but I loathe the idea of us going down that slippery slope of change orders again down the road. So I'm a no on this, Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Anyone else? Joyce or Randy, did you want to comment on the liquidated damages portion?
Well, this is an amount that was calculated by the engineering staff. You know, these construction contracts are not always easy to put together on the front end. it's recognized, there's a body of law that recognizes sometimes there can be unforeseen circumstances under the surface that can't be contemplated at the time. And if additional work is needed, then in circumstances, the contractor is entitled to be reimbursed for that. This one gets a little complicated because there were some delays due to storms, as well as imposition of liquidated damages. So it's not clean around the edges, if you will. I think the staff did as good a job as they felt they could do in terms of negotiating a compromise amount. This is certainly something for the commission to consider and approve or not approve, but the law does recognize that contractors are entitled to additional work that was not foreseen at the time of the bid. It's just one of those things that happens from time to time. This is not a clean, it's not as straightforward as one might think because of some other complicating factors. But if you're asking me whether I think the analysis is justified under the circumstances, I think it is. It's up to you to vote on it the way that you may wish to do. So that's kind of the legal analysis of the situation here.
Thank you, Randy. Anyone else have any questions?
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Selby.
Mr. Hayes, if the commission denied this request or did not pass this motion, what would likely transpire?
Well, a couple things could happen. I suppose the staff could go back and try to renegotiate another package. Another thing that might happen would be the contractor elects to sue the city for under the terms of the contract. If that happens, there's generally a fee provision in there, recovery of attorney's fees to the prevailing party. So that's what could happen as well. You can look through the crystal glass, but you can't really predict what might happen. If, one option might be that you just continue the matter until the next commission meeting and direct staff to go back to the negotiating table and see if they can trim the numbers down some. And depending on whether they've got a willing contractor that's willing to do that, then maybe they can give you a package at the next meeting that may be a little bit more palatable. I have no way of knowing whether that might happen or not, but those are your options, I think. So
It said, Randy, that the engineer miscalculated or something. Was that
Underestimated.
our engineer, or was that Zev Cohen and Associates?
I'll have John Noble come forward.
Okay, John, if you could come let us know.
John Noble, city engineer.
Thank you, John.
The quantities were calculated by the engineer records of Cohen Associates, and we've talked to them. They've explained, they understood that they missed the numbers, and one of the things we'll probably do in the future is we'll have our own engineering technicians review those numbers that we get from the engineer in terms of the bid quantities to basically double check and make sure everything's as correct as we can get it. When you get out in the field, you're digging up underground, you're looking at 30-year-old pipes that are out there. Things are there that you didn't expect to be there, and things are not there that you expected to be there. It's a tough job when you're digging up pipes, and we try to get through it the best we can. We got to make decisions in the field, and quantities change from the unit prices. This is being a unit price contract. At the end of the day, we pay the contractor for what work he actually did. And you hope that the engineer got the quantities close enough. But throughout the course of a year project, you're going to make some changes in the field, and then therefore the quantities are going to change. And that's kind of what happened in this case.
Commissioner Selby.
Mr. Noble, just a little quick math. It's a $34,000 adjustment on an $858,000 contract, so that's a 4%, increase in cost. Did I hear you say that the reason for the increase was the miscalculation by the outside engineer?
Yeah, the majority of the increase in cost was due to open cutting of driveways that were not included in the bid quantities, and the replacement of those driveways. And also, there was some additional cut and patches across the road that were not included, the quantities for the cut and patch.
And so that's all part of the bid package that
Correct.
the contractor bids on. They say, you want me to do this work, which is described in the bid package, and then you go out and field check what they actually have to do, and you determine that they had to do a lot more work or more work.
Correct.
than
I mean, if he's got
the
1,000
original
square
specs.
yards of driveway cut and patch, and in the end of the job, there was 1,200 square yards, that's 200 extra square yards you would pay him for, as long as he didn't do extra quantities that he didn't have to do, which we keep tabs on as
Right.
well.
So this may be a question for Mr. Hayes. Is there a way to hold the outside engineer fiscally responsible for this error?
Yeah, in this instance, I don't know that there is, because if they'd have nailed the quantities right to begin with, you're still going to pay that number, right? So it's a difference of knowing it on the front end as opposed to the tail end.
Well, excuse me, but wouldn't the bid have been higher? They would have bid.
Well,
they would have bid an
yeah, I
extra
think the question
30.
might be whether or not it could have affected some of the other bid proposals, I guess. And there's really no way to know the answer to that question. But I don't believe there'd be any way that we could actually recover, the difference from the consultants. Is something to take into consideration on future projects in terms of which consultants the city might wish to rely on for purposes of preparing these contracts and these bids. But the short answer is, I think it would be very difficult to do that.
And I think staff will go back in the future and make sure we double check those quantities, just to verify that the contract engineer is estimating those quantities correctly.
Deputy Mayor.
Doesn't solve the problem, but.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And good, healthy discussion. I like it. And this is uncomfortable because we're talking about telling someone no, that word that none of us like. And we're telling someone no with dollars. But we didn't make the mistake. When I say we, I mean the city of Ormond Beach. This was with an engineering firm that we do tons of work with. But yet our taxpayers are going to be on the hook for 4% of the cost at $33,820, which is almost what we pay one of our beginning police officers. It's a decent chunk of change. And whenever a contractor signs up, gets the bid, does the work, and says, gosh, man, cutting through this ground was like butter. It was so much easier than we thought. We're going to come back and give the city some extra money because, man, we were through this in lickety-split, no time at all. I have yet to see that day, all right? It's always an unforeseen thing. Piping anomaly? It's your business. You know you're going to deal with things underground that you don't know what's there. I don't think it's right for our taxpayers to be on the hook for this. I think Zev Cohen, we should have a healthy discussion with them about their responsibility for this. And I'm looking at these days, okay? So 150 days over the contract. It said very clearly in this contract, every day you're over, it's $500. What we're telling you is, get your job done on time. It wasn't. 21 days for Hurricane Irma? 3 weeks for Hurricane Irma? I think that's a bit much. 28 rain days? They don't work in the rain? I'm asking. I mean, 11 days for construction delays for unforeseen conditions. I just want this commission and the audience to know, before Ms. Shanahan got here, we had a change order or several change orders, additive change orders on almost every agenda. And Ms. Shanahan, correct me if I'm wrong, but you came on board and you heard this commission and you heard us with change orders, and I believe you got the word out to anybody bidding on our contracts. You better get it right in Ormond Beach, because my commission doesn't approve additive change orders. Get it right when you come to us, because they don't do that. All right? Otherwise, someone could low bid it and then come in and say, well, because they didn't want $33,000. They wanted $73,320 extra, but now let's give and take with the days that we were over. So I'm still a no for all the reasons I mentioned above. Thanks, Mr. Mayor, for the latitude.
Absolutely. Any other questions for John? Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion or questions?
No, but is there a motion on the floor?
Yes, and a second.
Yep. Motion in a second.
Are we receptive to,
No, there was not a motion.
There was-
yeah. I
You
didn't
had
think
to have
there
a
was.
motion if you read it.
There was a motion and a second to have this heard. The mayor asked for one.
Yeah. So are we receptive to delaying this for a meeting or a month or something like that?
That's fine with me.
We'd be happy to go back to them.
That's fine. Yeah, that's great.
You want, for the record, you just want to do a motion to table it for,
Make a motion to table item 7G.
Second.
Lisa, please call the vote.
I think it's for
Commissioner Kent.
Yes, and thank you.
Commissioner Persis.
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton.
Yes.
Commissioner Selby.
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes. That brings us to 7I.
This is a disposition item for 4 sports auto renew agreements.
Deputy Mayor Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for 4 sports, and one of them is Ormond Beach Youth Baseball Softball Association, Ormond Beach Youth Basketball Association, Ormond Beach Youth Football, and then the next one is Ormond Beach Pride. And I have to say, I love the sports in Ormond Beach, but I've got to tell this commission something that happened last year. So I have a son who is baseball, little league age still, and I've enjoyed being a coach and a parent and a bystander and a volunteer. And with OBYBSA, and that's what I want to talk about, is the baseball. With OBYBSA, something happened last year that I wasn't crazy about, and that was this. My family got a phone call that we were going to go play some of our games in South Daytona. And I started scratching my head. I signed up for OBYBSA. There's no SD in there anywhere. This is Ormond Beach Youth Baseball and Softball. Why am I driving to South Daytona to play a game? And then I found out, well, we wanted to be nice to South Daytona. They don't have as many teams, and they like to play with us. That's fine. What about them coming up here for all of their games? Whatever. The decision was made. We drove down there, and I'm so glad we did, because I don't like being outdone, and somebody outdid us, and I saw it with my own eyes. I went down there, and they had everybody stand for the national anthem? Wow! Their concession, I joked with my wife, not really joking, but I said, we're coming back here Friday night for dinner. It was that good. The concession was a home run, pun intended. We stood for the national anthem. It was excellent. It was great. The kids were on first and third base line. And I said, well, that's what happens when you send me down to South Daytona. Now I want that in Ormond Beach. And that's what I want to talk about, is I think Ormond Beach can at least do that. And here's why. Our fields are second to none. Our families are second to none. Our kids thrive and love it. And if another community can have the national anthem played before every game, Ormond Beach can do that as well. And that's what I want. And that's what I wanted. That's why I pulled this item, Commission. It needs to happen. We need to have the American flag, the United States, our flag up at every field. And it's going to take some effort, because we have a much bigger league and system than South Daytona. But it's not my fault. You sent me to South Daytona when I should have stayed in Ormond Beach, where I like to stay and play my kids' games there. But that's not what happened. So I wanted to talk to the commission about making sure that we have the national anthem played at every youth baseball and softball. And I guess down the road I'll get into every other sporting event that we have. But that's what I wanted to talk about, Mr. Mayor, on this.
Commissioner Persis.
Yes, I'm so glad that you said that, Deputy Mayor Kent. I was going to bring up at some point about I think we all need to play the national anthem in addition to some of the other songs that we grew up hearing at our schools and sporting events. God Bless America, America the Beautiful, and there's so many others. So some of the kids don't know a couple of those songs, and they need to know those songs. So I totally agree with you.
Commissioner Littleton.
If I remember the story from last year, they had a speaker system, right? Is that true? And they were keeping score, if I recall, right?
Absolutely, you're right. You're right on point. So, and that's the other thing, Commissioner, if I can just add that, is that we have these incredibly beautiful, expensive scoreboards that historically have not been used since my kid's in baseball. Like, why do we have these and they're not used? And I had people from the community calling me and saying, and I'm going to use his name, Mike Scudero called me and said, by the way, just so you know, when I was a little kid, I was upstairs keeping score for 3 games and all of the stats of what was going on. And you could have many volunteers that would want to keep score so that, we're not all in the stands going, what is the score? It was the score, and they had a speaker system where they played the national anthem.
And has any of that changed? I thought at the next meeting we had added something or did something.
We do have we did provide we purchased speaker systems that are supposed to be played at the games. As I understand it from Robert, the young kids, the youth, they're playing it at the youth games, but not at the adult games. And we're still working on the flagpole issue. We haven't gotten all the flagpoles installed.
What about keeping score?
I thought they were keeping score.
Keep
Robert,
score?
can you come up, please? I don't know if they're
And if I can, while he's coming up, Mayor, if you don't mind, it's hit and miss with keeping score, and at most of the games, the national anthem is not being played. After we had that comment last year, there were 1 or 2 where it happened, but it slowly fizzled out, and that wasn't part of it.
I think what I hear you saying, we need to direct OBYBSA that we want them to keep score and to play the...
Yes, ma'am. That's why I'm talking about it tonight, because after tonight, it's another year before this comes up. And when I mentioned it last spring, I was told by staff, no fault, sir, that's an OBYBSA issue, and it drives you nuts because you're like, wait a minute, this is all Ormond Beach, this is our stuff, but we have a contract with them, and that wasn't in the contract. So I wanted to see about making sure that the score was kept, the national anthem was played. Flags up.
Is it in the contract?
It is not currently in the contract, and we can definitely put that in the contract if
Perfect.
So
we need a motion to continue,
chooses.
probably, Randy, to allow that to happen?
Yeah, a couple ways you can do that. You can either pull this one item off, and then we can kind of rework it, bring it back. Probably be the best way to do it rather than try to sit up here and do it this evening.
Okay.
I think it'll be fine. Robert, you think?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I will say Commissioner Kent's correct. We did try to encourage the association to play at every game.
And we purchased the equipment.
And we purchased some very expensive equipment at all the fields so that it was possible for that to be done.
Right.
And,
Thank you.
So I don't want you to
Thank you.
that didn't happen.
So that'd be for all 4 contracts?
Well, I think it's just the baseball, right?
Well, if they've got the speakers at the football, I don't know what's wrong with having the football
It should be at every single one.
with the children.
Well, then we'll just pull the whole item and bring it back.
That's what I was expecting, if everybody's okay with that. Yes, Mr. Mayor. Is there a motion to that effect?
Yes, Mr.
7I.
Mayor, there's a motion to table, is it 7I? So that staff can add to the contract that the scoreboards are used, that the national anthem is played, and do we need to do the whole thing about the flags, or is that us? That's on us? That's us. Okay, so I'll leave that one out, but my hope is that staff will make sure that we have our flag up at all of those locations.
Can we add the national anthem and other, top patriotic songs, and or, does it have to be that one each time, or can you do?
I think it has to be the national anthem, but I'm okay with the national anthem and
Yes. Yeah.
another patriotic song, and if you want specific ones, I'd be happy to include it in this motion.
Okay.
Excuse me, if we could, I just want to make it clear that not all youth sports have the option to utilize scoreboards. Like soccer, for example, there's not scoreboards available to them currently. So if we could maybe make that as part of the motion, is if they're available,
Sure.
get utilized.
And Mr. Mayor, I have no problem adding that as well, that if it's available. And Commissioner Persis, if you don't mind, we can word it as the national anthem will be played. And the hope is that they will play another patriotic song for this first year, and then next year when it comes up, we can look at it and say, hey, maybe then we want to add another song to the.
And the pledge, I assume, is that done also?
It's not just the national anthem. Okay. So the pledge is not historically done at those events. Normally, just the national anthem. Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, at those sporting events, that's where that takes place. But yet again, something good food for thought after we all go to some of those events and check it out and say, hey, we may want to add something else or not. Good stuff.
I would like to add the pledge also. I mean, I think the pledge is just something that you do. It promotes civility and just kind of sets the tone. I don't know. However.
I've never been to a Major League Baseball game where they say the Pledge of Allegiance.
No?
No.
We do it at school every day.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Absolutely. So
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Any other questions on the motion to table? Then, Lisa.
Just need a second on that.
Second.
Perfect. Call the vote.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Selby?
Yes.
Commissioner Kent?
Yes.
Mayor Partington?
Yes. And now is the time if any commission member wishes to make a comment on any of the consent agenda items.
I would. I'd like
Commissioner Selby.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on item L. That's the cost allocation for the special election and the half-cent sales tax. And I just, I think it's a very fair formula that each of the cities will pay in the same ratio that they will receive funds should this pass. And there's been some comments about whether or not a special election should be done. It's going to cost Ormond Beach $25,000 or $26,000, and I think that's money well spent. I do think it's important to have this referendum, the vote on the referendum, as soon as possible, because I think if we don't get it done before the summer break, there's a good chance that it'll take another education process, and who knows what could happen in the fall. So I'm glad we passed that, and I obviously support it.
Great. Commissioner Persis.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Commissioner Selby said, and just that money will be used to, improve our sidewalks, bridges, water quality, stormwater, and flood control, among many other things. So I think it's wonderful that this is going to come to a vote.
Commissioner Littleton.
Also on item L, the county has the legal right to call the election, so that's why I supported this item here tonight. However, I will be encouraging people to vote no on the sales tax increase.
Thank you. Anyone else? We'll move on to public hearings, and I will open the public hearings and ask the city clerk to read 8A.
This is ordinance number 2019-1, an ordinance amending Chapter 1, General Administration, Article 3, Definitions and Acronyms, Section 1-22, Definitions of Terms and Words of the City of Ormond Beach Land Development Code by amending the definition of restaurants Type A and Type B, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof, providing for severability, and setting forth an effective date. This is ordinance number 2019-1, read by title only.
Thank you, Lisa. I don't have any cards, but I will ask Planning Director Stephen Spraker to speak on this item.
Good evening, Steve Spraker. This is a land development code that seeks to change the way alcohol is allowed at restaurants to make it consistent with the state statutes. Cities can make it more restrictive, which ours was before. There was a change in the state statutes, so this seeks to make it consistent with that. The Planning Board recommended unanimously 6-0 to approve it. The applicant is here if there are any questions.
Thank you, Stephen. Just need a motion and a second.
I'll move
I second the motion.
Great. And Commissioner Selby.
Yeah, Mr. Spraker. So this is like a text change that will then apply not just to this particular business, but to
All restaurants
yeah,
that meet
okay.
those criteria. Yes, sir.
So, and am I correct in saying that it costs the applicant $1,600 in fees?
Correct.
Okay. Plus Mr. Cimento, their legal counsel, his their time and energy and professional staff and in consulting fees also, right?
Correct. And
Yeah.
it is a policy decision whether or not you want to make restaurants based on seats, which is more restrictive, requires larger size. So basically, the applicant came forward, we supported the amendment,
Right.
and we're here tonight.
And what we're doing though is we're bringing our ordinances in line with state statutes, right?
Right.
Okay. Okay. So look, just my personal opinion on this is I'm grateful that they're here and that we're doing this. I think this is a good move, but I really feel like this is something that we should have done on our own, and the applicant shouldn't have to be plowing this ground, and especially shouldn't have to pay these fees. And I actually could support a refund of the $1,600.
Just for the record, those were the advertising fees for the newspaper,
I know,
so you know.
but we probably would have had to done that. I mean, if we did it at what I call administratively, I don't know if we would have run those ads or not. But anyway, I just think that because this is not some special exception, this is just bringing our ordinances to be congruent with state statute, and so that's why I feel that way.
I'd be for removing their fees and am supportive of this resolution.
What was the first part, Commissioner Littleton? I'm sorry.
I'm for refunding their fees.
Anyone else?
I am too.
Commissioner Persis is as well.
I am for.
Understood. What about the fees?
Fees.
As well. And I was as well. I had the same thought, Commissioner Selby, so I appreciate you bringing that forward. How would we word that, either Joyce or Randy?
Well, I think administratively the staff will just take care of that. So I don't know that you need to do that, but you can make it, you've got a motion to approve the underlying ordinance. If you want to add that on as an amendment, you can do that. Don't think it's necessary, but that's certainly up to you.
I think we can trust staff to take care of that. Understand
Staff
our
gets the direction there. So.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll ask Lisa to call the vote.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes, and we will close the public hearings and move to item 9, discussion. And we have the FPL Solar Together program, and John Noble is going to start us off on that discussion.
Before John starts, I would like to introduce Linda Webster, who has taken over for Larry Volanek, and Mel Locke. Locke's been here a long time, and he keeps us in good stead most of the time. So,
Great. Linda, welcome. And Mel.
John Noble, City Engineer again.
Yes, sir.
This discussion item is to determine if the City Commission is interested in pre-registering for a new solar energy program that FPL is proposing. It's called Solar Together. And as Joyce mentioned, Mel Locke is here to introduce you to the program and answer any questions you may have in order to help you make your decision.
Great. I only ask that you keep it short, and I would let the commission know. I got an email from Bob Coleman, who some of you know. He couldn't be here tonight because he had another obligation, but he was with FPL for years. He indicated it was a no-brainer to do this. It's an environmentally friendly thing to do and a smart thing to do. But with that, I'll let you be brief.
Well, if Bob's already said that, then I think I'm going to be short and sweet. I think you have a couple of slides that we can go through real briefly, and I also think you were presented with a PDF that explained what shared solar is. We are initially opening this up to a limited number of customers, mainly our governmental entities, assigned customers, larger governmental customers. So for the City of Ormond, the technical part here. Good. For the City of Ormond, your usage, if you look at the graph that you have in front of you and that's on the board, your annual usage, kilowatt hours with FPL is around 18,674,000. If you subscribe to the complete 100% that you're allowed to subscribe to for this program, it equates to 7,366 kilowatts, okay, which is your total subscription rate. Now, what this program does is it gives you an opportunity to buy into a share into a shared solar program. You have no obligation for the facilities, the maintenance, the upkeep, any storm damages, anything like that. You're just getting the benefit of the solar that is produced, or the energy that's produced by the solar that you can subscribe to. We are in a very early pre-registration period. Registration does close this Friday, the 25th, and what we're doing with the pre-registration with the group of customers that we're presenting this to is just gauging interest. We have had quite a bit of interest throughout the state, and specifically if we look at you, your annual bill impact in year one, if you subscribe to this, is $20,252. Okay, that's about $1,616. What did we say?
$1,600 a month average.
Yeah, average $1,600 a month. You gain a credit in the first year of if you subscribe. So the $20,000 a month, your annual, my eyes aren't that great. Your annual subscription cost is $597. And the first year, your estimated subscription credit is $577,000. That's where the $20,000 comes in. But after year one, it's a 1.45% increase to you for the subscription. So you would gain a 1.45% over time. And if we took this out to the full 30 years for you, the city would gain $2,602,000 in savings just by committing to this. And again, the point is you could do solar on your own, but you don't have, with this program, you don't have the responsibility of the facility. We would. What we're going to do with this is we're going to build several 74.5 megawatt sites around the state, solar sites. There's one currently being built. If you're in Volusia County, get a chance to run out State Road 44. There's one out there right now. So I think it's, trying to keep this short and sweet for you. That's pretty much it. I'd rather open it up to questions if you have any concerns or questions with us.
Commissioner Selby.
Yeah, I'm just curious if your rate rose 1.45% in year two, would that nullify the potential?
The credit, subscription credit raise, it increases 1.45% every year for 30 years.
Right.
So that's where you get that credit at the end of $2,602,000.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't look that, but I guess my question is, if our cost also rose
the cost are a set fee. The subscription cost does not change. There is no change to the subscription cost.
There's no change to the subscription cost, but theoretically your cost could rise over time, which then your subscription rate would adjust accordingly.
Correct.
But there's it's a flat rate. If you have $20 bill and it's always 1.75, and then with the increase, it increases on your bill. The credits increase according to your bill.
Okay.
According
Got
to
it.
your usage.
Okay. Yeah, but what I was asking about was the rate, though. If the rate per kilowatt hour, if their energy consumption stays the same,
well,
but the cost goes up because your rate goes up, which it doesn't do every year, but
okay. There's for the subscription of $7,366, it's $6.76 per kilowatt. That is the subscription cost. That will not change. The credit will grow every year, but the subscription cost does not change to you.
Okay.
That's where the benefit comes in for you.
And so, I mean, just because I'm still trying to wrap my arms around this. So basically what we're doing is we're buying into your solar field.
A shared solar
So instead
program,
of
yes,
like
sir.
putting solar panels on our roofs and
Yes,
having to buy that equipment and maintain it and hook it up and whatever,
Correct.
we're just buying into your system.
Correct.
And then for that, right, okay. Who gets
The other slide might show
See if
exactly
I can-
where the savings,
Where did I point it out?
And
slide for year 6.
Can you advance that over there?
Okay, let's see. Oh, turned it off. There we go.
There you go.
There we go.
A little more.
Okay, one more. Hold on.
Right. So you can see that you're paying into the subscription year 1 through 6. Year 7 is kind of a balance year. And then in year 8 through 30, that's when you're going to see your return. So it definitely makes sense, obviously, to commit to the full program of 30 years. You wouldn't want to just say, I'm going to commit to 2 years, because then you're paying and not getting the benefit of the program. But then the first slide obviously shows you your return on investment. You can see year 15 at $426,000.
And this is a question that's a little bit beyond the scope of tonight's discussion, but you're rolling it out to government entities now. Eventually, I assume you roll it out to private sector
Yes,
users also.
right now it's in a kind of a pilot program. We have to go to the PSC for approval. Once the PSC approves it, later in the year we would open it up to the public, and then it would go into effect in 2020.
Okay.
So this is just for us to gauge interest, to be able to tell the Public Service Commission that, you know, we do have interest in the program.
So my question is, when you get to the private sector, I guess I'm sort of assuming that there's some tax benefits to investing in solar in a big way like this?
That's a program that's down the road.
Yeah.
Right now, we're just
Yeah, because obviously that wouldn't apply to, you know, a government aid. Okay.
government entities and large businesses like Publix and Walmart. We're working with them as well, just to see, as Mel said, what interest is, and there's been quite a bit of interest.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So what they're looking for us today is whether there's interest for us to sign up with the program, because you're looking to get us registered, pre-registered for the program. And as I understand, our break-even year is the 7th year. After the 7th year, we start to earn money on the program. So that's essentially where we're at.
Commissioner Littleton.
This is my comment towards the commission. I spoke with John Noble on Friday on the phone, almost because I thought, like, well, this is too good to be true, almost. And through researching and as such, it's typical. We're buying into a solar field that we don't have to upkeep, and just like with solar, we're going to see a profit after year 7 or something like that. So I think it's a no-brainer that we support it, essentially.
Yeah, I think, and also I think we're leaders also in the community. You know, I think it's good that we step out and do this, and I think that will encourage other government entities as well as other private sector when they roll that out to the private sector. So yeah, I support it also.
Thank you. Commissioner Persis?
No, I totally support it in everyone else's words. It's a total no-brainer.
Thank you. And Deputy Mayor Kent as well. And I'm in, so you got 5-0. FPL is
Thank you very much.
Such a smart company, it scares me a little bit, honestly. The things that you guys do really benefit a lot of people, and we've seen that in our own community. So Linda, welcome. Thank you. And Mel, thank you for coming in and explaining tonight. And Joyce, thank you for bringing it to us. I guess, John, you've got some work to do between now and Friday. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Very good. And we move to reports, suggestions, and requests, and we will start with City Manager Shanahan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Commissioners. Just a reminder that your next meeting is Tuesday, February 5th. We are planning a workshop, a joint workshop with the Planning Board and the City Commission to talk. The Planning Board wants to talk to you about medical marijuana dispensaries, and staff would like to talk to you about food trucks. So those are 2 items on the agenda. Halifax Hospital has also asked to come and speak to you. They have a 5 to 8 minute presentation on the opioid epidemic here in Volusia County. So we have that scheduled for 5:30. On February 19th, you have your commission meeting, and then February 27th is a Wednesday, right? My calendar's gone. Yes. That's our strategic planning workshop, beginning from 4 to 8 p.m. As you know, we wrapped up the OB Life series last night. We had great participation there, and I think by and large, the people that attended those workshops felt like they were very informative and helpful. So we appreciate the Commission's direction on putting us down that path to help you amend your strategic plan moving forward. The Casson Park Pier, the contractor has 5 pilings left to install. It's interesting that the further out you go in the river, the harder it is. There's a lot of coquina out there. I would have thought it was the other way around. So he's got 5 pilings left to install. He's working on framing and decking along the dock itself and installing the electrical conduit and lighting. So he's scheduled for completion mid-April. We received 8 bids for our public dock, the dredging, and the breakwater. That came in, I believe, at $1.250 million. And I think we had $1.1 million budgeted for that. So we're going to have to do some value engineering or find some funds someplace. So we're still exploring that. We will be coming to you in the February 19th meeting for approval of a feasibility study to look at the EOC and the police department. And we will be also placing an item on the February 19th meeting about a space needs analysis for that former church property and what we want to do with that. We're going to be tearing down that faucet on the side of the building, that extra building behind there.
Right.
It looks like a big fat mess, and staff is working on getting that removed and patching it up so it's presentable until y'all decide what we would like to do with that. It is on the historic register, so if you decide to demolish that, it has to go to HLPB, Planning Board, and the City Commission, but that's a future note for you. The sales tax information staff is going to be, tomorrow we have a meeting with all the managers. There's going to be a baseline presentation that is going to be prepared for all the cities to use, and then cities will plug in their specific projects. As part of the OB Life series, we're launching February 15th our existing projects that we had as part of the sales tax. We haven't revisited that list for over a year, so I would suggest that we bring that back to you just to confirm that that's your list at this current point in time. Is that okay with the commission?
I think that'd be good, and particularly for the education piece, if Commissioner Selby, I think, had agreed to be the point person,
right.
He needs to know when he's going out to educate different community groups exactly what the options are.
Yep. So we'll get all that to you. And do we have anything else? I think that's all we had for tonight. We'll bring those items back to you that you had on tonight's agenda, and we'll move forward. And thank you very much for your time during the recycling discussion.
Thank you, Joyce. Commissioner Selby?
Yeah, just, Joyce, did you say the workshop is February 5th?
Yes.
So, all right, our next meeting,
5:30. Next meeting,
Yeah,
5:30.
okay, great, thank you.
And we'll make sure we notice the planning board as well.
Assistant City Manager Claire Whitley.
No additional comments. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Claire. City Attorney Randy Hayes.
No, sir. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Randy. And tonight we start with Commissioner Persis.
Oh, that's great. Good evening, everyone. Monday morning, Carl, my husband, and I attended the Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast at the Ormond Neighborhood Center. There was a full house and a delicious breakfast that was provided to the attendees by the city, and a strong inspirational message about planting seeds in our community environment and within one another. And last night was the wrap-up of the Ormond Beach Life series. The information received from these meetings will assist the mayor and the commissioners in updating our strategic plan. I want to give a shout-out to all the city staff who put in hundreds of hours planning and preparing these sessions. Our city will be better because of the efforts of everyone involved. And I just heard tonight, 3 decades, Ormond Beach has been a Tree City USA. That's just absolutely amazing. And I know the mayor did mention that we attended the Arbor Day tree planting at Ormond Beach Elementary, and some second grade students that were participating learned a whole lot more about trees and our environment. And it was really a lot of fun seeing the children using huge shovels to help put soil around the new tree. And they showed Mayor Partington and I how to do it correctly, and I think they knew we needed a little assistance in that regard. So with that, I close and say good evening to everyone.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Littleton.
Thank you, Mayor. As far as OB Life goes, I want to thank Joyce and staff for putting on all the meetings and the events. I think the citizens really appreciated it, and it was good for our community. Earlier today, I visited the Wendelstadt Umpire School, and if you haven't been, I suggest you go. They are some intense guys up there. They don't mess around. And it was very fun to see, and what goes, there's snap judgments they have to make and everything. And it's great that we have that in Ormond Beach. And with that, I'll say good night.
Thank you, Commissioner Littleton. Commissioner Selby.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, first of all, I just wanted to also comment on the OB Life. I was particularly impressed with the fact that the overall satisfaction rating was 4.7, if I'm not mistaken, on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest. That was amazing. And the response rate, which was so incredibly high of the participants who responded to the survey, really clear indication of people wanting to learn more about the community. I also want to compliment Joyce, you and the staff on the transparency initiative. I really feel like, I don't have any empirical evidence for this, but just in speaking to other city officials, electeds around the county, I really feel like we lead the way in transparency, and that is really, really important to me. I believe that the citizens have a right to know, and I think it's great that we're doing that, and that we're going to make it even more transparent. And for those of you who don't know, we will have effectively all of our accounts payable, all of our disbursements online, almost in real time. I mean, my understanding is it'll be updated weekly. Yeah, so you won't be more than a week behind. And it'll have, down so granular, down to the point where the check number, the date the check was written, the payee, the amount, and the purpose of the payment. So you'll be able to see very, very detailed information on where your money goes, where your tax dollars go. So I'm really excited about that, and really appreciate that staff is rolling that out. As you know, I'm your representative to the TPO, the Transportation Planning Organization, and I'm going to pass these down for each of the commission, and then can we, unfortunately, Joyce, I didn't tab yours. Pass that one that's not tabbed down to Joyce. And then, Lisa, here's one for you. This was, I'm sorry, Lisa. This was presented today at TPO, and I just want to go over it real quick. This was presented by the Chief Development Officer for District 5, which is the 9 counties in Central Florida of the Florida Department of Transportation. And the first tab that you have is the next 5 years, the anticipated budget, the projected budget for District 5. And it's $1.6 billion in 2020. And then it goes down, and then it goes up to almost $2 billion in 2022. And then it stabilizes closer around $1 billion, which is closer to what we normally are at. And there was a question as to why the fluctuation, and the answer was that it primarily revolves around big projects. You know, if you have a big project, you get obviously more money, and then so I don't know, and they weren't able to say exactly which big projects. Then the next tab, safety. What I've done is I've highlighted for you the things that are going to be happening that directly impact Ormond Beach. Access management and pedestrian crossings, State Road A1A from Millsap Drive to State Road 40. Okay, and we heard from Tipsy Taco today about Millsap. So the design of these crosswalks will happen in 2020, and then the construction will happen in 2022. And we've asked for 4 or 5, south of Granada to be added. And I think the next thing we've got to start on is north of Granada. And there's 4 or 5 up there that probably need to be done. The next tab is entitled Preservation. This is just resurfacing, not just, but it's resurfacing State Road 40, Lake County line to State Road 5 from east of Rodeo to Bayberry Drive. So that's a huge project, again, starting in 2020. Design in 2020, and then completion in 2022. And then the final thing is operations, and that is State Road 40 adaptive signal system. So the actual construction of the what we've all been praying for, which is the light will always be green. When you get there, when your car arrives at the intersection, the light will automatically turn green. So anyway, hopefully we won't be sitting at lights when it's red for 3 or 4 minutes when no car has gone, the opposite direction. That's the purpose of these adaptive smart systems. One of the things that they said at a meeting not too long ago was that the, how do I want to say this? The technology exists, but there aren't proven vendors that the state can get comfortable with that they know will be there. So they're sort of waiting for the technology to, to get in the hands of vendors that aren't going to go away in 18 months or 2 years or whatever. So while we had hoped that this would happen sooner than 2020, which is only next year, because we've been talking about it for a couple of years, that's part of the reason for the delay, is making sure that there's a vendor that can provide that and service it in a way that's that we're comfortable with. I also attended the Martin Luther King breakfast. It was fantastic, along with Vice Mayor Kent and Mayor Partington. And it really was fantastic. It's a great event, a lot of spirit there, and very well attended, and the food was very good. So with that, I'll say good night.
Thank you, Commissioner and Deputy Mayor Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commissioner Selby, thank you for not only the paperwork, but the tabs, the highlighting. You made it really simple, and I appreciate that. And Mr. Mayor, I want to start with you after that, and that is about the OB Life series. I want to thank you for your leadership with that. I know that you spearheaded that whole event, and it was a great educational piece for our community. Thank you for that. And you've heard about Martin Luther King breakfast. It was a really nice event, very well done. Tree City, 28 years in a row, and receiving even bigger awards this year. I mean, goodness gracious, I'm feeling greener by the minute. It's just great stuff, and I'm glad that we're recognized as the great environmentalists that we are, because we do care about our community and our trees and recycling and solar. I mean, just all of this great stuff that's happening in Ormond Beach. The individuals that talked about Restaurant Row on the beach side, a couple of them are still here. I'm glad you are, because you would have missed my comments if you weren't. But you mentioned that you all wanted to look something like The Grind, and I want to say thank you for that, because this commission worked very hard in our downtown to make that look very different. And if you've been in this community for any time at all, 12 years ago, if I showed you pictures of what it looked like out here, people forget. You tend to forget how things change. But it was a very different picture. And that is part of our CRA, Community Redevelopment Agency. And if you followed anything that I've been saying recently, it's that I want to have that discussion with the county and about creating a CRA there. And Commissioner Selby had an idea I love as much, which was maybe even just take the CRA that ends right up around A1A and just bring it down A1A, so that we would have funds to help do things on our beach side. It's near and dear to my heart. So I'm glad you all are working together as business owners, coming up with creative ways and ideas to not only improve your business, but to create an experience that's going to be enjoyed by the residents first, and then our visitors. To our fire chief and police chief, you guys are on top of it. You did a wonderful job today. I know both of you had your teams out there right near Seabreeze High School, making sure that if things went south, that's when your men and women are called to action. And great work by both of your departments, and please pass that along. Extremely proud of the job you gentlemen do every day in our community. Thank you. And to Commissioner Persis, thank you for helping with our national anthem tonight, and also some other good ideas that I think we're going to be able to implement. You have been in education a lot longer than I have, but there's something about seeing our youth and our kids participate in wholesome, healthy activities, and a big part of that being our national anthem, our Pledge of Allegiance, other wonderful patriotic songs that you're right. A lot of our youth, they don't even know them, but they're still excellent today and can be tear jerkers. I mean, we hear it at the 4th of July every year. I mean, they play that music, and it gets you going. So thank you for that. And Ms. Shanahan, you mentioned that Halifax was going to come and talk to us about an opioid epidemic. It'd be great if they wanted to talk to us about bringing an emergency room to the beachside as well. I'd be happy to hear what they thought about that. And I want to get it out there. If Halifax wants to bring something like that, or a great walk-in clinic with a level 3 or higher, they'll make Commissioner Kent and the residents over there and the rest of this commission, I think, very happy. And the next Coffee with Commissioner Kent is at my home, first Monday of every month. It'll be February 4th this next month. I live at 130 Magnolia Drive, 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. And we talk about anything that you want to talk about. So we'd love to see you then. And with that, have a great night.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The Arbor Day celebration, I think I already covered it, was fantastic. Robert, your staff did an amazing job. Commissioner Persis, who kindly last year stepped in and became principal of Ormond Beach Elementary, really helped out the educational institution and the city of Ormond Beach by doing that. But when those kids came out, they were so excited to see their principal, and it was just a great morning. The MLK Day was fantastic. I wanted to show you all, I think you probably already saw me hold it up at the event, but they provided us with an award of appreciation for cooperating with them. I'm proud that we cooperate with them on the MLK event. It's an event 17 years ago. We held it with maybe 20 or 30 people in a small room at the South Ormond Neighborhood Center. And now, 17 years later, it's grown to where we take up that entire gymnasium with, I counted at least 125 people. There may have been more that I wasn't aware of, but I did take the time to count. So a huge number of people come out to celebrate our togetherness as a community, and the music and the talent from the people who participate is amazing. I mean, some of the best music I've heard probably in the 17 years has been in the performances that happen there. So, and again, great work by our leisure services staff to support that. The OB Life Initiative, we had a great wrap-up last night, and I read in the Observer that the cost was about $35,000, and I was just so impressed that our staff was able to put that whole thing together for that amount. I mean, Ormond Main Street brought in a couple of planners, 2 of them, for 3 days, and it was $15,000. And so for a little over twice that, our staff put together a 9-month event, 7 different nights with several hundred people attending, and it's just another example of the very great value and bang for our buck that our staff ekes out on a constant basis. So thank you, Joyce, for making that happen, and to all the staff members that were involved in making that happen. The Casson Park Pier, I'm excited to see that being finished. I get asked about that as much, if not more, than any other single topic, and I'm sure each of you hear about it as well. The hurricanes, in some ways, did more damage and set us back more than we like to admit. We like to recover quickly and get back to normalcy as soon as possible, but that's one area where, for a lot of different reasons, it's taken some time to completely recover, but we're getting much closer, and a lot of people are going to be very happy when that's completed. So thank you for that update. And with that, we'll say good night.